Breaking In stars Gabrielle Union as Shaun Russell, a single mother who's been a victim most of her life and is just starting to re-enter the dating world. When her wealthy father passes away, Shaun takes her children, Jasmine and Glover, up to the father's high-tech lakeside mansion for the weekend to help sell the property. Things quickly turn dangerous when 4 former convicts break into the smart house and take the kids hostage, threatening to execute them if Shaun goes to the police, while they search the home for the safe, rumored to contain hundreds of millions of dollars in cold, hard cash. Shaun must overcome her past traumas, outsmart the invaders, and prove payback is a mother. Breaking In is an adequate, average thriller, perfectly timed for the Mother's Day crowd, but I didn't care for it. Its short 88-minute runtime somehow feels much longer due to its stretched-out pacing, mild and inconsistent acting, clunky exposition, and lack of clever plot twists or proper story arcs. And overall, the film's presentation just lacked much energy, tension, and theatricality. First, the characters. The mother, Shaun, just got out of an abusive relationship, I guess? I might have missed something because all the setup surrounding this storyline is literally phoned in, as her current boyfriend, Justin, spews all the details. Hey, it's not your fault. You were in a bad relationship and you are the stronger one and such and such and such and such. Most of the backstory in Breaking In is really forced, with characters telling other characters stuff they already know about themselves for the audience's benefit, instead of perhaps beating around the bush and letting the viewer piece things together, or having flashbacks or proper prologue sequence. The current opening feels more like an homage to last year's Get Out. I could have sworn I saw the same street during it, but this time could have been dedicated to something more relevant to the story and equally disturbing. Shaun's former domestic abuser. Shaun's past struggles are told to me, but I never really get a sense of what she's going through, which is incredibly important to know because the main character arc of Breaking In involves Shaun rising above her victimhood status to be the mother her kids need right now. This is one movie where I'd actually advocate flashbacks throughout the runtime, getting a glimpse into Shaun's mind as she panics and remembers her abuser while under attack from the home invaders. This would have created a clearer, more involving picture of what's driving Shaun. Gabrielle Union's acting alone doesn't quite sell it. Some well-timed editing intercutting between her current fighting and her past beatings could have provided adrenaline-inducing motivation and cheer-worthy moments as she takes down her assailants and, by analogous extension, her former boyfriend. But in the current film, Shaun's internal conflict and her character arc is given just a little lip service at the beginning and the ending. I admire what the writers wanted to do and say, though I never truly felt it. Shaun's daughter, Jasmine, has a really underdeveloped seed of a character arc. She's a bit disgruntled about having to go on the trip with her mother and brother and has a promiscuous side that Shaun was unaware of. I got the impression that Shaun and Jasmine should have had a big falling out at the beginning of the movie, with Jasmine wanting to prove herself to her mother. It could have been something along the lines of Shaun not wanting Jasmine to rush into her relationships and make the same mistakes with men that she did. Late in the movie, there is payoff to something like this that just flat out wasn't set up. At the beginning of the movie, Shaun and Jasmine give each other a little light ribbing, but they are mostly on jokey, smiley, good terms. Not much seems to need fixing through a life or death scenario. Shaun's son, Glover, kinda only exists to nerdily describe all the features of the smart house, briefly set up a drone, and to be a worry comfort prop to inspire his sister until just before the ending. Again, there is an under-fleshed out idea here about Glover being too babyish, dependent, and needing to grow up fast because of the home invasion circumstances. It didn't really register for me. Then there's the 4 convicts, discernible by their character types. You got the mastermind, the tech, the reluctant screw-up, I didn't know it would go so far, and the psycho with a knife threatening to screw up the whole plan. Where the hell did you get this guy? Everything is fairly predictable by the numbers with what you'd expect from these types of guys, except They're dunces! The criminals are in a house that is capable of locking itself down to be completely impenetrable. But they inexplicably refuse to take advantage of this. They leave the house's defenses offline for most of the movie. They send their techie guy with glasses, the one man who can open the safe, outside to capture the only full-grown adult capable of fighting back. Meanwhile, the toughest guys are on the inside taking care of those pesky kids. Then they don't actually use the kids as proper leverage, perhaps starting to cut one of them or something to show that they're serious. They mostly ignore the house's command center with advanced motion detection until it's too late. And they also split up to go check things out. Why? You're holding all of the cards here. All of this behavior undermines Shaun's heroics. She doesn't have to be as clever, utilizing her knowledge of her dad's house to take out the invaders. They practically pave the road for her. And when Shaun does have to be clever, it's actually contradictory to the movie's own setup. At the beginning of the film, Shaun has to have her kids figure out how to shut down the house's security system. She knows nothing about this technology. Yet still, halfway through the film, she's sneaking around and outsmarting the top-of-the-line motion sensors. There's suspension of disbelief, and then there's just flat-out inconsistency. Maybe this is where Glover could have actually come in handy somehow. Set up a line of communication between Glover and Shaun through one of the smart house's hidden bedroom call boxes or something. In fact, the smart house angle is just way too underplayed. You get a couple of brief lockdowns and a portable mini-map. That's about it. Breaking In is mostly a regular home invasion movie. Though I did slightly appreciate that the writers wanted to flip the script a bit, making almost half the movie from the criminals' perspectives, with Shaun toying with them in the darkness like Batman. But there's no tension in that. Why should I be concerned for the well-being of the crooks? There are long scenes of the criminals walking around nervous in the dark. This was boring for me. The fundamentals of thrillers usually dictate that we follow the character we actually care about, placing us with them in their moment-to-moment fears, not knowing when one of these full-grown men will appear to attack Shaun. The only way that Breaking In's approach would work is as a fun, stylish exploitation movie. If there were dramatic irony, the audience would have to know that Shaun was actually a capable fighter and tactician beforehand, and the criminals would be clueless. Then the movie could play up her heroics and the crook's fears for amusing B-movie laughs and thrills. They messed with the wrong mother. Breaking In tries to have it both ways, and it just felt off, not fully committing to either. Sometimes Shaun has that intense, cool attitude. Other times, she's scared again and vulnerable. I would say either follow Shaun as she grows from a victim into a badass gradually, or just completely flip the script, allowing Shaun to already be a professional from the beginning, and make this some unique and humorous schlock. Breaking In just has conflicting aspirations, which deflated the suspense and my investment in Shaun's character, making the film feel like a whole lot of nothing. Sure, all the elements are there, but it all comes down to underwhelming execution, which carries over into the music, editing, and performances too. There's generic dun 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 thriller music playing, even at inappropriate times, such as when Shaun has to watch the house locked down for the first time, with her kids trapped inside. The same music is still being used for this scene that was being used when she was running through the woods to get to the house. There is no fitting variety. Perhaps a tense, quiet pause as she locks eyes with the mastermind, standing with a gun behind her children, followed by tragic strings as she pleads helplessly. Nope. Dun 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 dun. It was slightly funny how weird the musical choice was. Then there's the editing, which never quite knew how to give moments their proper emphasis. At one point, Glover blandly asks his sister, what happens if they don't find the safe? Smash cut to the invaders searching the home. Why not play up that moment? What happens if they don't find the safe? Let the music swell as they react in fear and comfort one another. Then cut to the next scene. A lot of movie tension relies on the characters' reactions. If we care about them and see them genuinely afraid, we'll be afraid for them, or at least nervous. For another example, there's a through line about the mastermind Eddie discouraging and underestimating Shaun because she's a woman. alone. There is a good payoff to this in the script, but the execution didn't get the reaction it wanted out of my half-full theater. I think it's because there wasn't enough emphasis placed on Shaun's reaction to being called just a woman. If you show a character taking something personally, it will register more with the audience, who will then be more excited when she proves him wrong. In the movie, Shaun doesn't really bat too much of an eye at this phrase. I don't know if that's editing or the directing, probably both. Unfortunately, a lot of the acting is flat and mild. The bad guys look bored out of their minds, standing around like they'd rather be anywhere else than in this movie. Where's the excitement and adrenaline as every minute ticking by without finding the safe puts them more at risk of being caught? I could have sworn I heard one of them say that the cops would be here in like 30 minutes if they did something. But that never happened. The crooks come off as disinterested part-time employees, working the late shift at a fast food joint. The fact that Knife Boy is starting to go a little bit rogue on the mastermind is treated with the same intensity as someone being reprimanded for checking in 10 minutes late at a day job. Towards the climax, I laughed when Knife Man, while threatening the kids, almost blinked himself to sleep. The PG-13 rating doesn't help either, with Eddie the Mastermind amusingly yelling "frickin" at the rogue Knife Man. Like that psycho's gonna take frickin' seriously. Additionally, if you've seen the trailer, then you've pretty much seen the best parts of the movie. Some stuff seemed to only exist for the trailer, such as Shaun hanging on beneath a spiral staircase. It's a cool shot, but it makes little sense. If she knew the guy was coming from upstairs, why not just hide under the stairs? Her right hand is clearly in the Knife Man's line of sight, but when we cut to his point of view, it's just not there. It wasn't even like one of the criminals was coming from the hallway downstairs and the other was coming from above, and so she had to contort herself in the middle. That would have been a good reason to risk hanging there between the two floors. And interesting suspense. I can still see you! This movie's ratio of build-up versus actual encounters is just way too skewed towards build-up. It was dull for me. All in all, I'd say that Breaking In is an average to below average thriller. That's Mother's Day angle is attractive and well marketed. It makes a good trailer. There were even some claps in my theater during the climax, even though they weren't reacting to the rest of the movie. I now have a newfound appreciation for movies with proper jump scare timing. Anyway, if you're interested, maybe give it a shot because it worked for quite a few in my audience. I personally thought it lacked development, was poorly paced, edited without emphasis, was conflicted in its goals, and really underutilized its unique smart house setting. Not to mention its traditional lake locale. It could have just been in the middle of the woods. While the movie is okay, it had no real quirks or personality to set it apart. Everything just felt uninspired and bland. I did get to see Krista Miller from the Drew Carey Show, though. I give Breaking In 1.5 out of 5 stars. You know, the most exciting part of my evening was when I had a bunch of fire ants fall onto my arm while I was walking to the box office. I noticed it just whenever it was my turn to start paying, and I swatted most of them off with one swift swing, but a lone survivor remained, witnessing the devastation of his comrades. He bit down hard as a final act of defiance against me. I had a huge, feverish swelling on my arm, and I had to stop and text my loved ones, asking them to Google if I was going to be okay. Oh man, I was comforted by them and made it to my seat just as the Universal logo began. And a couple was in my assigned spot. You sitting here? Yeah, D5. It's on my ticket. Dead center. The movie was starting and these two didn't know what to do. It's pretty simple. Move out of my dang seat. Since they were so reluctant and didn't grasp the concept of guilt for a transgression, I chose not to cause a scene. Look, if you don't want to move, there's two of you, I'll just sit over here. Okay. So now I have to sit about 5 seats off center, hoping that no one comes in and picks a fight with me over sitting in their seat. Then, out of nowhere, the woman leans over and sincerely says, "Thank you." I'll remember that. It felt good. Of course, the boyfriend started to play with his phone throughout the rest of the movie, and they had loud, smacking makeout sessions. I'm a pushover. Take care, everybody.